My name is Clare Kelly. I farm alongside my husband Gabriel in the townland of Kilknock in Trellick, County Tyrone. We're an upland farm. All the land is severely disadvantaged. We run a suckler herd. We wanted to keep on the sucklers, but we wanted to run them as economically and environmentally efficient as we could. We have 40 acres of ground. We have planted native trees. There's pockets of native trees throughout the farm. And we've also tree corridors and new hedges. We did that to make the farm more biodiverse, to create wildlife habitats, to reduce our carbon footprint, make the farm more carbon efficient. And it utilised unproductive areas of fields. So it's a win-win for the farm.
When we took over the farm, it was a thriving suckler farm and we wanted to continue that. We wanted to keep it profitable, but we also wanted to incorporate eco-friendly measures in the farm. At the time we kind of thought that would have been either or, profitable or environmentally friendly. As it turned out, the two go hand in hand, as we discovered. One of the measures we introduced was we planted areas of native trees. These were corners of fields. We created wildlife corridors with these. They were planted in parts of fields that were of very little use anywhere, corners of fields. They provide many functions. They provide shelter for the cattle, most importantly in this part of the world. They provide shade occasionally when we're in a heat wave. They actually provide ourselves with food such as apples, plums, berries, gooseberries, lots of food for us, lots of habitats for wildlife, food for wildlife obviously also. One of our main aims in the farm was to be profitable and environmentally friendly. We're trying to achieve this through a series of small steps. One of the small steps that seems insignificant, but we have found it works really well, is we harvest our own bedding. Years ago we purchased in straw, delivered from hundreds of miles away at significant expense. We then realised we've got a good supply of bedding growing free in our own fields, which was going to waste. So we've started harvesting it, some of it loose, some of it in bales. It's working brilliantly. The calves love it. And we're certainly not going back to purchasing in bedding again. Another small step we decided to do was, years ago we were just ad-libbing cattle. They ate as much as they wanted. They overate, if we're being honest. That produced a lot of problems. It was expensive. It was not great for the environment. We were producing more bales. They were eating more round bales than they needed. It was also causing cows to be over fat when it came to calving. So what we decided to do was we decided to try and tailor the amount of fodder each cow received, and we were amazed to find that each cow was thriving and perfectly content on about a quarter of the amount of fodder that she had been eating when she was ad-libbing, and it made perfect sense to curtail the amount she was getting because it was creating problems. It was driving a hole in our bank balance. There was no return for it. In fact, sometimes it was costing us money if we ran into calving problems where cows were too fat or they had blown up too big a calf. So by now feeding the amount that the cow requires, we've eliminated a lot of those problems, as well as saved ourselves a few pounds.
So this is an example of another one of our plantings. It's at the top of a silage field. It was rough ground, wet ground, rushy ground, no good for anything. So we decided we'd plant it. It has actually naturally drained the plantation now. We fenced it off to not let the cattle in. It's all native trees, all deciduous trees. There is some planting of conifers that was planted by Gabriel's father. We've seen a lot of wildlife in these plantations. We've seen an owl, we've seen a pine marten, we have plenty of hares, plenty of foxes. I actually saw a red squirrel for the first time in my life. And there was a wood pigeon that used to sit up in the rafters with the side of it. And of course the cuckoo which every year is a really big deal in our house when we hear the cuckoo for the first time. I heard the cuckoo today, summer's on its way, so that's always a really magical experience for us on the farm. Okay, so this is one of our silage fields here. It's about 4 acres in size. It's all natural grassland. This is not a reseeded field. We use timothy, which are naturally occurring species on our land. It's great for our soil type, great for our weather, great for our altitude of ground. We also limed all our fields after we did our soil sampling, which increased production amazingly, led to higher quality silage, and extended the grazing season because the grass growth was coming back a lot quicker than it had before that. Behind this field here we have our bog. The bog stretches the whole way around the perimeter of this field and onto the next field. It's about 1.5 hectares in size. Some people might say, what a waste of ground, I'll go in with my mulcher, whatever. Not for us. We have it protected, it's all fenced off. It's a huge carbon sink on this farm, which lowers our carbon footprint. It's also abundant with wildlife. We heard a pheasant flying over it one day, a little family of pheasants in the next field. Plenty of flora, fauna, insects. It's just something that's dying out in Ireland and really needs to be protected. So these are an example of some of the cattle we have on farm here. As you can see, they're being paddock grazed with an electric fence. The field is divided into squares. The cows here are in the grazed bit, but we forward graze the calves so they can go under the fence. The posts are high, they go under it, get the sweeter grass, get ahead of the cows for their nutrition. Then the cows are let in and they finish off. They're back fenced, so they can't get back over the whole field again. And we have a mobile drinker there and just a hose pipe from the water point, so they can't walk back and forward and back and forward. The water's there ready for them. We're the 4th generation on this actual farm. We're very privileged to be able to work the farm. We put our own stamp on the farm. We hope our children will continue on. Whatever they do, it's up to them. I hope they continue on with the work ethic and responsible farming that myself and Gabriel have created.